In this video, let's discuss about the SSAS interview question. What is name query and how to create name query and why we need name queries. Okay, first let's see where this option is available in our SSAS environment. When you open the bits data source view, SSAS data source view, and when you right click on the data source view, you will find an option called new name query. This is what the question is about. So the shortest definition that I normally give if anyone asks me what is name query is name query is nothing but the view in the data source view or view in the SSAS data source view. I hope you guys are very much aware of view and what a view can do. For example, let's go back to SQL concepts. This is your SQL 2014 environment, query analyzer, and here I have a couple of tables. Let me go with customer, and I don't want all the columns from this customer. For example, if you see there are so many columns, like say 15 columns or 20 columns, but as per my requirement, I need only let's say the first name, middle name, last name, which will be combined into name and date of birth of the customer, customer key, geography key, and email address. I'm interested in only these columns. What I can do, the best thing what I can do here is to filter those columns in the view, right? Instead of creating a select statement, people prefer to go with a view which will be used again and again. For example, let me create a view here. Create view. Let's say I'll give the name as cust details as nothing but a select statement, a valid select statement. Let me go for the select statement here. What I want here is customer key and geography key, and the full name of the employee. Perfect. And I want, for example, date of birth date, and I want gender. Okay, and email address. Okay, let's say I'm interested in all this information for my analysis service queue. If I execute it, it will return only the required columns or the columns that I have provided in the select statement. So the view is nothing but a virtual table on top of the physical tables. You can use one table or 10 tables. You can use as many number of tables in the view, but it should be a valid select statement. For example, I've copied the select statement and I executed it, and the view is created in the SQL server. So going forward, if I want to execute this, get these results, I can refer it using the virtual table or alias view. Select star from customer details. It will give me the inner select statement result or the select statement that is part of this view definition. Okay. The same way you can create views, create view test with whatever the select statement, but it should be a valid select statement. For example, select get date is valid in SQL Server because it returns some results. Okay, let me create a view with this. Create view test as select get date, and oops, column was not specified, as date time. Okay, and let me execute it, and it has been created successfully. Now let me try to call this view. So if you don't want all the columns, and you can see the result here, and if you don't want all the columns from a table, or if you want to filter few rows from the table by applying a where condition, or if you want to join multiple tables and you don't want to repeat the the pretty big query again and again, you can create a view on top of the select statement, and this view is virtual and it won't occupy any space in your drive. Okay, now this is a view in SQL Server. Let's see what is view in data source view. The view in data source view is a named query. So what you can do with the view creation in the SQL can be done here, except creating indexes on top of the view, which is possible in the database view, but not here in the named query. But apart from that, the definition of the view will, the definition of the named query will be very much create a named query and show you how you can create and why you have to go for named query instead of views or tables that are present already in the database. Okay, while creating view, what are the two most important things that you need is the name of the view and the select statement. Here also, you need to provide the name of the named query. Let's say I'll give the same customer details, and this is the data source view, and here is the query definition. Here you can directly write your select statement if you're good in select, or you have to go and you can use the query definition pane here to select the tables from where you want to, using which you are going to create the named query. For example, I'm going to create a named query, customer details, which will have restricted columns like 3, 4 columns or 5 columns max. So I selected the table, customer key, and you can see the query is getting changed. On selection, I want geography, and I want first name, middle name, and last name, and I want date of birth, gender, and email address. And regarding the full name, you need to write a calculated expression here. So leave it for now. Let's create a simple name query. Click on OK. The name query is created. This is the name query. So to filter out the columns, to filter out the rows, to merge, to join multiple tables and create a view, you can use the name query option in the SSAS data source view. So the problem here is you don't find the name calculation. It will be disabled. You can't create a name calculation on the name query, and you have to provide all the key values. This definition will not be available in your database, right? And hence you have to provide the primary key, and there is a lot of manual work that you have to do. For example, here you have to define the logical primary key, and then you have to provide the relationships. So dim customer key to customer key. So you have to do it manually. Apart from that, name query is very much similar to table or view, excluding the fact that in database you can create indexes to improve the performance, whereas in the name query you can't create the indexes. That is one major difference which may impact performance. Okay. And if you talk about the advantages of having the named query, most of the data warehouses, most of the business guys, they don't give access to create new objects to you while working on the SSAS projects. You will have only read access. You can read the objects. For example, you have some hundreds of tables in your data warehouse. You can read it. If you want any view, you have to raise a request to them. They will create the view and they will give the view name to you. Read access to the view, but you will not have access to create any object in most of the cases, not all the cases, in most of the cases, because data is very important for them. It's very highly secured one for them, and they don't want to screw up with the data by providing access, write access to, or create access to. So in those cases, it's always good to have an option like named query where you can create the views of your interest in the SSAS data source view, and this will not have any impact in your underlying database. So this will be limited only to this data source view. When you go back, the data source will remain the same what you have before, but this is only limited to your SSAS data source view. That's one beautiful option. And second thing is, let's say you have a pretty big table, for example, dim promotion, and as per your requirements, you need only promotion name in your reports. So in that case, why you need all these columns? This is a lot of waste, right? I mean, you just create a named query on top of the table, which will have only those 2 columns, which will make your queue and the design easy, right? For example, let me convert this one to a named query. I mean, I'm trying to explain the limiting the columns. I don't want all this stuff. Okay, so I'm unchecking everything. So you can do it by using the view option in the database or named query in the data source view. I'm preferring the second one. and you can see, yeah, that's it. The table is converted to named query with only 2 columns. So this is the only way you can remove a column from a table. You can't delete a column from the table. For example, this is a column. If you want to delete a column, you can't do that. For doing that, you have to convert the table into a named query and then do the stuff like remove all the columns or filter the rows. If you have 1 million records and if you want only 2 records or 3 records, then you can do it using the named query. So this is about named query, and this is how you can create named query and the relationship between the views in the database and the named query in the data source view, and advantages and disadvantages of having a named query in your SSAS solution. Hope you understood the concepts, and wait for my next video on SSAS injury questions on SSAS and SSRS2. Thank you. Bye-bye.